My name is Elizabeth, and I'm 32 years old. I've been working at Green Tech Inc. for over 5 years, and I've always been driven to succeed. I've put in long hours, taken on extra responsibilities, and consistently delivered high-quality results. My goal has always been to rise through the ranks and become a leader in the company. I've been watching the senior leadership team, studying their moves, and learning from their experiences. I've been particularly close to my boss, Rachel, who has been mentoring me and pushing me to excel in my role. I've been expecting a promotion to a senior position, and I've been preparing myself for the challenge. The company is a dynamic and fast-paced environment, with a culture that values innovation and teamwork. I've thrived in this environment, and I've built strong relationships with my colleagues. But despite my best efforts, I've started to notice that something isn't quite right. There are whispers in the hallway and subtle hints that suggest not everyone is playing fair. I've tried to brush it off, but the feeling persists. And then, one day, I received an email that would change everything. It was an announcement from HR about a major promotion within the company. And I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. Could this be the opportunity I've been waiting for? Could this be the moment that propels me to the next level in my career? I was about to find out. I walked into Rachel's office, expecting a discussion about the upcoming promotion to senior marketing director. Rachel closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair. "Elizabeth, I wanted to talk to you about your career development," she said. "You're a talented employee, and I've enjoyed mentoring you." I nodded, feeling a sense of anticipation. "Thank you, Rachel. I've learned a lot from you." Rachel's expression turned serious. "Elizabeth, I have to tell you something. The promotion you're expecting, I've decided to take it for myself." I felt a jolt of surprise. "What? Why? I thought I was next in line for the position." Rachel leaned forward, her voice taking on a matter-of-fact tone. "The company wants someone with more experience in the role, and I've decided to take on that challenge myself. It's a great opportunity for me to advance my career." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "But I've been working hard for this promotion. I've consistently delivered results and taken on additional responsibilities." Rachel nodded sympathetically. "I know, Elizabeth. You're a valuable member of the team. But this decision isn't about your abilities. It's about the company's needs, and I'm the best person for the job." I left Rachel's office feeling stunned and betrayed. I couldn't understand why she would do this to me after everything I'd done for the company. I started to wonder if I'd been blind to the politics at play, or if Rachel had been playing me all along. I knew I had to take action, but I wasn't sure what to do next. I'd been preparing for this moment for months. I'd studied the job description, honed my skills, and built a portfolio of successful projects. I was confident I'd get the promotion to senior marketing director. My colleagues knew me as a driven and ambitious employee, always striving to excel. I'd consistently delivered results, exceeded expectations, and earned the respect of my peers. My boss, Rachel, had been mentoring me, and I trusted her guidance. I'd worked late nights, poring over market research and campaign analysis. I'd networked with industry leaders, staying up to date on the latest trends. I was ready for this promotion. I was the obvious choice, or so I thought. I'd even picked out a new outfit to wear on the day I expected to be announced as the new senior marketing director. But little did I know, my confidence was about to be shaken to its core. The company's future was uncertain, and the promotion process was more complicated than I'd anticipated. Rachel called me into her office, and I walked in feeling like I was about to seal the deal. But what she said next would change everything. I sat in Rachel's office, expecting a discussion about the promotion to senior marketing director. But instead, she dropped a bombshell. "I've decided to take the promotion for myself," she said, her voice calm and collected. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "What?" I asked, trying to process what I was hearing. "You've been mentoring me, telling me I'm next in line for this role? Why would you do this?" Rachel leaned back in her chair, a look of satisfaction on her face. "I've decided it's time for me to take on new challenges," she said, "and this promotion is exactly what I need to advance my career." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd worked tirelessly for this company, consistently delivering results and exceeding expectations. And this was how Rachel repaid me? By taking the promotion for herself? I felt betrayed, undervalued, and angry. "This isn't fair," I said, trying to keep my cool. "I've done everything you've asked of me. I've been loyal to this company and to you." Rachel shrugged. "Business is business, Elizabeth. Sometimes tough decisions have to be made." I left her office feeling stunned and betrayed. I'd trusted Rachel, and she'd stabbed me in the back. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew I couldn't let this betrayal go unchallenged. I walked out of Rachel's office, my mind racing with questions. Why did she do this to me? Did she ever intend to give me the promotion? Was everything she said to me just a lie? I replayed our conversation in my head, trying to find any hint of what was to come. But there was nothing. Just a calm and collected Rachel, smiling and telling me she was taking the promotion for herself. I felt a knot in my stomach as I walked back to my desk. I couldn't concentrate on my work. I kept thinking about what Rachel had done. I started to wonder if anyone else knew about this. Was I the only one who was blindsided? I picked up my phone and stared at it, thinking about calling someone to talk about what happened. But who could I trust? I decided to talk to my colleague, Alex. Maybe he knew something. I got up from my desk and walked to Alex's office. "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Alex looked up from his computer, a concerned expression on his face. "What's going on?" he asked. I took a deep breath and told him everything. Alex listened attentively, his expression growing more serious by the minute. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "I had no idea, but I do know Rachel has been acting strange lately." My ears perked up at this. "What do you mean?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. Alex glanced around the office, making sure no one was listening. "I've heard rumors she's been meeting with the CEO behind closed doors. Maybe there's more to this story than we think." Suddenly, everything seemed more complicated. I wasn't just dealing with a betrayal, I was dealing with a web of secrets and lies. And I was determined to get to the bottom of it. Rachel had been my mentor for years, or so I thought. But looking back, I realized she had been undermining my work and taking credit for my ideas. She would present my projects to the CEO and other stakeholders, making it seem like she was the one who came up with the concepts. I remember one project in particular where I spent weeks researching and developing a marketing strategy. Rachel presented it to the team, and everyone praised her for her creativity and insight. I was in the room, but no one knew I was the one who actually did the work. Rachel would often give me feedback on my ideas, only to later present them as her own. She would say things like, "Elizabeth, this is a great idea, but let's tweak it a bit." And then she would tweak it into something that was barely recognizable and present it as her own. I started to notice a pattern, but I didn't want to believe that my mentor was intentionally sabotaging me. I thought maybe I was just being paranoid, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that Rachel had been using me to advance her own career. She would give me tasks that were beneath her own pay grade and then take credit for my successes. I was starting to feel like I was just a stepping stone for her. And now, with the promotion, it seemed like she was taking everything she could from me. I couldn't help but wonder, what else had she been doing behind my back? Had she been talking to the CEO about me? Had she been poisoning the well against me? I needed to know what was going on, and I needed to find out who I could trust. I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. Every time I thought about Rachel taking the promotion for herself, I felt a surge of anger and frustration. I started to doubt my own abilities. Had I been foolish to trust her? Had I been blind to her true intentions? I couldn't concentrate on my work. My mind kept wandering back to the conversation with Rachel. I replayed it over and over in my head, wondering what I could have done differently. I started to question my own worth. Was I good enough? Was I worthy of success? I felt like I was walking around in a fog, unsure of what to do next. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't want to talk to anyone about what happened. I just wanted to crawl under a rock and hide. But I knew I couldn't do that. I had to keep moving forward. I started to wonder if I was cut out for this job. Maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was. Maybe Rachel was right to take the promotion for herself. I felt a wave of self-doubt wash over me. I started to question everything: my skills, my experience, my worth. I felt like I was losing myself in the process. I didn't know how to pick myself up and move forward. I just knew I had to keep going, no matter what. I took a deep breath and tried to focus on my work. But it was hard to shake off the feeling of betrayal. It lingered in my mind, making it hard for me to think clearly. I knew I needed to do something, but I didn't know what. I just knew I couldn't let Rachel get away with this. Not without a fight. I decided to schedule a meeting with HR to discuss the promotion and Rachel's behavior. But when I arrived at the HR office, I was told that Rachel had already spoken to them about the situation. Rachel says you're just being dramatic and that you're not ready for the promotion, the HR representative said. I felt a surge of frustration. That's not true, I said. Rachel's been undermining me for months, and now she's taking credit for my work. The HR representative looked skeptical. I'm afraid it's your word against Rachel's. She's a respected member of our team, and we need more evidence to support your claims. I left the HR office feeling defeated. I realized that I was going to have to gather evidence and build a case against Rachel if I wanted to clear my name and get the promotion I deserved. But it wasn't going to be easy. When I got back to my desk, Rachel was waiting for me. I hear you're going around saying I'm undermining you, she said, her voice cold and calculating. I don't appreciate that, Elizabeth. It's not professional. I stood my ground. I'm not making it up, Rachel. You've been taking credit for my work and sabotaging my efforts, and now you've taken the promotion that was rightfully mine. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You're not going to win this fight, Elizabeth. You need to accept that and move on. I felt a wave of determination wash over me. I was not going to back down. I was going to fight for my rights and my career. And I was going to start by gathering evidence and building a case against Rachel. I began to dig through my emails and documents, looking for anything that could support my claims. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to prove that Rachel was not the innocent victim she claimed to be. I sat at my desk, staring blankly at my computer screen. I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. Rachel's words kept echoing in my mind. You're not going to win this fight, Elizabeth. I felt a surge of anger. How could she do this to me? After everything I'd done for the company, after all the late nights and weekends I'd put in. I thought about all the times she'd taken credit for my work, all the times she'd undermined me in front of our colleagues. My anger turned to sadness. I felt like I'd been blind to her true nature. I thought we had a good working relationship, but I guess I was wrong. I started to wonder if I'd ever be able to trust anyone at work again. But as I sat there, feeling sorry for myself, something inside me shifted. I felt a spark of determination ignite within me. I was not going to let Rachel get away with this. I was going to fight for my rights, for my career. I was going to prove that I was worthy of the promotion, that I was capable and talented. I took a deep breath and stood up, my mind racing with ideas and plans. I was going to gather evidence, build a case, and take this to the top. I was going to make sure that Rachel paid for what she'd done. I started to feel a sense of purpose, a sense of direction. I was no longer just a victim of circumstance. I was a woman on a mission. I began to make a plan, thinking about who I could talk to, what evidence I could gather. I was determined to win this fight, no matter what it took. I spent the next few days gathering evidence and building a case against Rachel. I dug through emails, documents, and meeting notes, looking for anything that could support my claims. I talked to colleagues who had witnessed Rachel's behavior, and they shared their own stories of frustration and disappointment. I documented everything, creating a detailed timeline of events and a list of witnesses who could corroborate my story. I met with a lawyer who specialized in employment law, and she told me that I had a strong case. She advised me to keep gathering evidence and to be prepared for a long fight. I was determined to see this through, no matter what it took. I started to feel a sense of control and empowerment. I was no longer just a victim. I was a person taking action. I scheduled a meeting with the CEO, determined to present my case and demand justice. As I sat outside his office, I felt a sense of calm and confidence. I knew that I had done everything I could to prepare, and now it was time to let my evidence speak for itself. The CEO's assistant called me in, and I stood up, smoothing out my clothes and taking a deep breath. It was time to face the music. I walked into the office, my head held high and my evidence in hand. "Good morning, sir," I said, my voice steady. "I'm here to discuss the promotion that was given to Rachel." The CEO looked up from his computer, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. "Ah, Elizabeth. Yes, I've been expecting you. Please have a seat." I sat down, my folder of evidence clutched tightly in my hand. It was time to make my case. I dug deeper, determined to uncover more evidence of Rachel's wrongdoing. I interviewed colleagues who had worked with her on various projects, and they shared stories of her manipulative behavior. One colleague told me about a project where Rachel had taken credit for their work, and another shared an instance where she had sabotaged their presentation. I documented everything, my folder of evidence growing thicker by the day. I discovered an email where Rachel had lied to the CEO about a project's progress, and another where she had belittled a colleague's idea in front of the team. Each new piece of evidence strengthened my case, and I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that I was building a strong foundation for my claim. I started to notice a pattern in Rachel's behavior, a consistent disregard for others' contributions and a willingness to do whatever it took to get ahead. I realized that this wasn't just about me. It was about a larger issue of workplace culture and accountability. My investigation was gaining momentum, and I was determined to see it through to the end. I was getting closer to the truth, and I knew that Rachel's wrongdoing would soon be exposed. I was ready for the confrontation that was coming, armed with evidence and a determination to stand up for myself and others who had been affected by Rachel's behavior. The question was, what would happen next? Would Rachel try to cover her tracks, or would she come clean and take responsibility for her actions? I was about to find out. I stood outside Rachel's office, my heart racing with anticipation. I took a deep breath, grasped the door handle, and walked in. Rachel looked up from her computer, a hint of surprise on her face. "Elizabeth, what can I do for you?" she asked, her voice calm. I walked over to her desk, my folder of evidence clutched tightly in my hand. "We need to talk," I said, my voice firm. Rachel raised an eyebrow, but she nodded and gestured to the chair in front of her desk. I sat down, my eyes locked on hers. "I've been investigating your behavior, Rachel," I said, my voice steady, "and I've found some interesting things." Rachel's expression changed, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "What are you talking about?" she asked, trying to sound nonchalant. I opened my folder and pulled out a stack of documents. "I have emails, witness statements, and records of your actions," I said, my voice firm. "And they all point to one thing. You've been sabotaging me and taking credit for my work." Rachel's face turned red, and she opened her mouth to speak, but I wasn't finished. "I've also found evidence of your manipulation and bullying," I continued. "And I'm not going to let you get away with it." Rachel's expression turned cold, and she leaned back in her chair. "You think you can take me down, Elizabeth?" she asked, her voice dripping with condescension. "I don't think so." I stood up, my eyes blazing. "I don't think, Rachel," I said. "I know, and soon everyone else will too." Rachel's face twisted in anger, and she slammed her fist on the desk. "You'll never prove it," she shouted. But I just smiled. "Oh, I already have." The CEO called me into his office a week later. I sat down, my folder of evidence still clutched in my hand. "Elizabeth, thank you for coming in," he said, his expression serious. "We've completed our investigation into the allegations against Rachel." I leaned forward, my heart pounding in my chest. "And what did you find?" I asked. The CEO leaned back in his chair. "We found that Rachel's behavior was unacceptable and unbecoming of a leader in our company," he said. "She consistently took credit for others' work and sabotaged her colleagues." I felt a surge of relief and vindication. "What does this mean for Rachel?" I asked. The CEO's expression turned stern. "Rachel will be demoted and will undergo additional training on workplace ethics and behavior," he said. "And as for you, Elizabeth?" He paused, a small smile on his face. "We're offering you the promotion to Senior Marketing Director, effective immediately." I couldn't believe it. All my hard work and determination had paid off. I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. "Thank you," I said, trying to contain my excitement. "I'm honored to accept the promotion and look forward to contributing to the company's success." The CEO nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "We're looking forward to having you in your new role, Elizabeth. Congratulations." I left the office, feeling empowered and validated. I had stood up for myself and others, and it had paid off. I was ready to take on the new challenges and opportunities that came with my new role. I sat in my new office, looking out at the city view. It had been a few weeks since I'd been promoted, and I was still getting used to my new role. But as I reflected on the experience that had led me here, I realized that I'd learned something valuable. I'd learned that standing up for myself and my rights was crucial. I'd learned that I didn't have to accept mistreatment or unfairness, and that I had the power to change my circumstances. I thought about the journey I'd been on, from feeling betrayed and powerless to finding my voice and fighting for what I deserved. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. I'd discovered a strength and resilience within myself that I hadn't known I possessed, and I'd learned that I wasn't alone. I'd found allies and supporters who had helped me along the way. As I looked out at the city, I knew that this experience had changed me. I'd grown as a person and as a professional. I'd learned to be more confident and assertive, and I'd developed a stronger sense of self-worth. I knew that I would carry these lessons with me for the rest of my career, and that I would continue to stand up for myself and others when necessary. I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that I'd fought for what I deserved and had come out on top. And I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them head-on. As I looked back on the journey I'd been on, I realized that there were some key lessons that stood out. First and foremost, I learned the importance of standing up for myself. When Rachel took credit for my work and sabotaged my efforts, I could have let it slide and accepted the status quo. But I didn't. I chose to fight back, and it was one of the most empowering decisions I ever made. I also learned about the power of determination and resilience. When faced with obstacles and setbacks, I could have given up and thrown in the towel. But I didn't. I kept pushing forward, gathering evidence and building my case until I achieved the outcome I wanted. And what I realized was that it's not just about me. Standing up for myself and being determined and resilient isn't just about achieving my own goals. It's about setting a precedent and creating a ripple effect. When I stood up to Rachel and demanded justice, I sent a message to everyone around me that this kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated. And that message resonated with others, who began to stand up for themselves and demand fairness and respect. In the end, It was a journey that changed me in profound ways. I learned that I am capable of more than I ever thought possible, and that I have the power to shape my own destiny. And I know that no matter what challenges lie ahead, I'll be ready to face them with confidence and determination. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced a situation where you had to stand up for yourself or overcome adversity? Maybe you were in a similar situation, or perhaps you know someone who was. Whatever your story, I'd love to hear it. Share your thoughts and experiences with me. What did you learn from the experience? How did you handle it? What advice would you give to others who might be facing similar challenges? Let's start a conversation. Share your story, and let's support and learn from each other. What do you think? Have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? How did it turn out? Share your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for listening to my story. If you like this kind of story, kindly like this video, share it and subscribe to the channel for more stories. Thank you.